Good morning, everybody, and what a morning it is. Welcome to Tallybook Troubleshooting. I'm your host, Keith Stelter, trying to bring a little bit of positive PR, a little bit of outside views, subject matter experts, one interview at a time, one live stream event at a time, one, event at a time. Coming to you from the heart of the Permian Basin, Odessa, Texas. Love this place. It's been great. Can't say enough about it. I got to raised my kids here during the pandemic and they didn't have to wear masks going to school. So I'll always be thankful for Odessa and the great people out here in West Texas because of that. Big shout out to American Safety Services who have given me the time to do this and support me doing the show. Thank you, everybody over there. Call us today for all your safety, site permit, environmental needs today. We'll gladly help you out. I also want to shout out Ray Trevino, the Crew Truth, for when this kind of started. We thought about doing it originally in a studio, and he was more than happy to volunteer the Real News Studios in Dallas or Austin. Due to a little bit of scheduling and a few other things, we couldn't all come together. And then we're using the beauty of video. So thank you very much to Ray. Want to shout out all the great people, Janie Selson, Kathy Carpenter, Scott Emerson at the API. Their upcoming clay shoot, raising scholarship funds for everybody, is March 1st. Still sponsorships available, still shooting spots available. Reach out to them. If you need to be connected, reach out to me and I will help you out for sure. Let me know where you're watching from. We love the comments coming in. Lets us know audio's working, something's working. It doesn't matter. We want to see where everyone's tuning in from. Also want to shout out to Social Octane and their golf games coming in Odessa on April 17th. I'll be doing a few interviews from that as well. And still lots of available spots at the Permian Basin Oilman's Bass Invitational coming up April 18th to the 20th. It's sponsors and helps out the Make-A-Wish Fund for North Texas and New Mexico. A lot of great things going. And on a personal note, my father-in-law, Dale Hanna, is, after 30 years, running once again for district attorney for Johnson and Somervell County in Texas here. So if you're in Johnson or Somervell County, early voting is going on right now. Go vote for him. Good man, doesn't make deals, hard on crime. And if you're in Texas in general, early voting is going right now. Please get out there and vote, no matter who you're supporting. Want to make sure your voice is heard. Now, let's see. People tuning in here. Let's see. Got his popcorn ready? David Pritchard, thank you. Uh-oh, they're coming in. Dennis Stillwell. Colorado. Thank you, Robert Lynch. Clyde Dunn, California. Yes, sir. Justin Cobb, Magnolia, Texas. Mike Jenner, Verdon. Wow, covering some ground here. Fort Worth, LinkedIn users. It says LinkedIn user because your privacy settings are set to private, so it won't come up in here. But thank you for tuning in. James Wilkerson, thank you, sir. Oh, man. Norman, Oklahoma, thank you, sir. Emil. Red Deer, Alberta. Heck yeah. Got some Canadians. Louisiana. The Woodlands. Thank you, Corey Howell, for tuning in. It's Drew Ludlow, H-Town, Dallas. Thank you, sir. Justin Martin, thank you for supporting always. Morning, Keith. Now, we got, Mark LaCour. Thank you, sir, for tuning in. Bo Harden. We're going to have a little bit of fun, I think, here, one way or the other. We'll get some things straight, or maybe we'll just bend it up more. I don't know, but we're going to start this off here. You don't want to hear me talk anymore. We're first going to start this off with Bill Burch. He's going to do a little introduction of himself and kind of talk about the post that kind of started all this, and we're going to go from there. So without any further ado, Bill, thanks for coming on, sir.
Good morning, Keith. How are you, sir?
I'm just trying to keep it all together here, man. The comments are coming in here. We got Houston and College Station. It's going well, sir. Welcome, Tallybook Troubleshooting, first time on. Thank you for coming on and do this. Let everybody know a little bit about yourself and who you are.
Well, thank you very much. I am Bill Burch. I'm a 23-year veteran of the oil and gas industry. I am a drilling engineer by background, an oil well firefighter, and I am the 2024 Democratic candidate for the Texas Railroad Commission race, which we will find out come this Super Tuesday. whether I move on to the general or not.
All right, who are you running against in the Democratic nomination?
I am running against a young lady out of Houston named Catherine Colbert, who is a process safety engineer.
Excellent. Now, I guess the topic at hand, you did a post on February 17th, and it got some attention. I think the one sentence that started it off was, you were, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I don't have it right in front of me, but you were one of the first on the scene for the Deepwater Horizon, and you were intricate in help solve that situation, correct? Am I wrong? Am I getting that right?
Yes. So it was the Houston Chronicle article, just to be clear. It was their endorsement article that was published on the 17th of February. And it says, Bill Burch recalls being one of the first people on the scene when a blowout on the Deepwater Horizon oil rig in the Gulf of Mexico caused a massive explosion. As a well-controlled emergency response effort, he has been called to help manage oil-related disasters across the globe. So the post was shared on LinkedIn. And when I posted that link on LinkedIn, there was a challenge by Mr. Kenneth Wilkerson saying, ha, 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 ha. This guy has nothing to do with getting that under control. I know and work with many people involved in that operation, including the night tool pusher. Please to explain to us what you did, which then proceeded to go into basically calling me a liar, that I had zero involvement with the Deepwater Horizon.
And now, without any further ado, let's get Kenneth's side of the story here. I'll take you off the screen. We'll get Kenny to bring it on here, and then we'll see how this all works out in the end here. Kenny, Mr. Wilkerson, thank you for joining us here today, and thanks for kind of putting the wheels in motion on this. Appreciate it. Tell everybody a little bit of who you are first before we kind of get into this, and then we'll go into how this all started.
Kenny Wilkerson. I've been in the oil and gas industry, same as Bill. Actually, I think almost to the day, maybe 20, 24 years, almost, maybe a year longer. He is correct. He did post that. He edited it since. I believe you already know that, Keith. He edited it. He was called to the scene. I don't know what that means. Did he get called to an office in Houston? Did he get called to an office? Did he hop on a boat? Did he get on a helicopter? Did he go out to the rig? Because I don't know anybody that's seen him out there. Anyway, I'm ready to go. Let's go.
So he made the statement. You're challenging him for what his involvement is here, and we'll get you both kind of going back and forth here. What's your feelings right off the bat? Like, was there anything else that bothered you about the post, or was it just that you didn't think that he had, what he said he did with the event?
Absolutely, everything about the post bothers me, Keith. I don't understand. That was a dire event, a stain on the industry that killed. I think 11 people, I believe. I had a buddy that he referred to, a night tool pusher. He broke ribs. He broke his leg. He got invert impregnated into his skull. He couldn't walk. I don't know if we should get all the way into it, but he got drug out of a hallway, down a hall outside by a guy that was brand new to the rig. It just started, I believe, I can't absolutely say for sure, but I'm pretty sure his first hitch on the rig drugged the man outside. The lifeboats were gone, right? There's no lifeboats. They're already gone. He leaves my buddy there. My buddy thinks he's going to die, right? He managed to worm his way into a life vest, right? He can't walk. He can't stand up. What the man told me was he just made his peace with God. He was done. And then next thing you know, the kid, the new guy, I shouldn't call him a kid. He comes back, throws one of the canister little life-saving things over, chunks my buddy over the side. He jumps over the side, gets my buddy into the life-saving apparatus there, the little canister boat thing, paddles them away. They wind up getting into an actual lifeboat and gone. And the idea that this guy, or no, any guy, not this guy, any guy takes this and uses it as a, as a method to run for politics. And to be honest, it makes me sick, man. It makes me sick. Just because you go and you did a couple of formulas to figure a flow rate in a safe, quiet 70-degree office in Houston. I mean, that's ridiculous, man. I mean, to me, that's ridiculous.
Understood. So your position is, it's a blemish on the industry. We shouldn't be, bringing it up to, in posts or something. So that was your big thing. And also, you're still challenging how much he had involved. So I'm going to take you off the screen here for a moment, let Bill have his say as well, and then we'll kind of get you guys on a back and forth here. Bill, you kind of heard him there. I hope I don't got to repeat all that because it kind of goes into a lot of different things. It sounds that at this point, kind of, Kenny, admits that you have something to do with the Deepwater Horizon, but a lot of it is, should we be talking about it in the first place? Seems like a big talking point. Maybe I'm getting that wrong, and I'll let you, take the floor and rebuttal.
Thank you, Keith. Well, first and foremost, the challenge of my integrity was that I am lying about the involvement in the Deepwater Horizon in the emergency response elements of what occurred on April 21st through the end of September of 2010. Keith, Mr. Wilkerson very clearly said, bro, this guy had nothing to do with it in that project. I would bet almost anything. I've never heard of him. And I know a whole lot of people that were there on the rig and involved in recovering that well. My stepfather helped build the rig. Jesus, my second driller was in the oil field pushing tools on that rig. I have literally never heard of this guy in my entire life until he ran for the RRC. So let me be perfectly clear that under the I worked for Wild Well Control from 2007 until January of 2013. Wild Well Control was the master service agreement contractor for BP for any emergency response in the Deepwater Gulf of Mexico operations units. As part of Wild Well Control, I was called by Kurt Mix on April 21st at about 11 o'clock in the morning to bring my laptop and come down to BP's offices at Westlake 4, where my first task was to work with the team determining the flow rate calculations and the various scenarios of flow at surface, flow at the seafloor, and potential scenarios of the clapped riser after the rig sank. So that was my first job that I did at BP. My work is fully discoverable on the Department of Justice because I was interviewed by both the FBI and I was also a witness for the Department of Justice against Kurt Mix in the BP case that went to trial in the Federal Fifth Circuit Court in New Orleans. So you can look at all my emails. They're all publicly discoverable, and all the information is publicly discoverable of my actual involvement in the operation. As we moved into the weekend of Memorial Day weekend, we performed the top kill operation. I was involved in the top kill operation in the war room, sitting next to Tony Hayward and Secretary Chu, who was the Secretary of Energy for the United States government. And I sat next to them working on the flow rate calculations and the determination of the effectiveness of the top kill operation that we tried from offshore. After that, I was part of the relief well efforts in terms of both the design principles, the kick tolerance calculations, the discussions of intercept points, and also the overall pathways of which the relief wells were drilled. And also I was part of the conversations and the design efforts of the backup relief wells, because remember, there was 2 relief wells. On top of that, I was also part of the capping discussions that has moved forwards, because again, there was still discussion of whether we were going to cap the well or finish the relief well. And I'm directly credited with determining the number of holes that were drilled in the riser, that the one joint of sacrificial riser that was drilled. They drilled 18 holes in the riser joint. That was my calculation and my efforts that did that work to determine that, and was verified by stress engineering calculations and computational fluid dynamics modeling. I was also involved in terms of the capping operations, also the liftoff pressure, as I determined the actual amount of up force that was coming from the well in the risk of potentially the upforce not allowing the subsea capping team to be able to be successful in landing out the subsea BOP, which eventually was successful and was proven correct that there was no issue to cap the well. I was also involved in the final execution of the relief well, which was after we capped the well and shut it in. When we decided that there was discussion about trying to finish the relief well, I was pivotal in the discussions of not allowing the relief well to exit because it would have blown the capping stack off the top of the well due to the U-tube differential of being in 5,000 feet of water. I was also pivotal in determining the final kill weight mud that was used for the static kill operation that was finally performed, which provided for the final kill of the Macondo #1 exploration well in the Gulf of Mexico. So I was literally at BP's office from April 21st until the end of September when we wrapped up operations, and was also part of the follow-up. Unfortunately, I had other assignments, but I was also part of the follow-up with the actual plug and abandonment and kept tabs on it until November 6th of 2010 when the final sealing cap was placed on the well.
Great synopsis. Mike Jerner here, I think makes a great point, because I kind of felt maybe this way too. Seems like there's a difference in misunderstanding about the actual being on the rig or in a boat versus being in Houston. I know
never
when
said. Sorry.
So when I read the original post, it says, one of the first on the scene. I was picturing kind of like, and this is just a layman, reading the post coming in. Like I said, I have no skin in the game either way. Was that you're either in a boat or a helicopter kind of circling, overhead after when this started, right? Was what I was picturing from just that sentiment. Now, from that statement, right? First on the scene. That's clearly not, as he's making it here, as where you were in Houston, where a lot of the decisions were made. So I think it's, a valid part of the misunderstanding here. And I'm going to bring on Kenny
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
So the Houston Chronicle editors who wrote that piece did not validate or verify the accuracy of that information before it was published. That was their interpretation for dramatization of the issues. I never said that during the interviews with the Houston Chronicle. I said I was a part of the emergency response team efforts, and that was recorded by the Houston Chronicle's efforts. So if the implication of that interpretation by the Houston Chronicle is suggesting that I was actually offshore as one of the 6 emergency responders for wild well control who went out to the rig, who were physically present at the location, that is not what I said.
So, like I said, the LinkedIn post, did you post the post then, or did somebody else post it for you?
I posted the post from the Houston Chronicle, and originally when I posted the post, I included the full editorial conversation of the post. My campaign team said that violates the Houston Chronicle's requirements for publication, and that please remove the rest of the context of the article other than the title entry and the journal date, which I did. So yes, it has been edited, but only for the essence of actually the first sentences of what was actually written. The rest of the article, unfortunately, is behind their paywall as per Houston Chronicle's request.
Understood. I'm going to bring on Kenny here and see if that's, what kind of, got him riled up here as well. Kenny, you guys have the chance here to talk directly. Is that kind of what your interpretation here was? Was that from that first sentence on there, was that it made it sound that he was first on the scene and that he was physically out there, correct?
Of course, that was my interpretation. I mean, I can read. I went to school in Texas. That's not the greatest, acclimate in the world, but yeah, that's exactly what it said. I was first on the scene. I was called to the scene, Bill. That's what you said. That's exactly what it said, almost verbatim, maybe.
And so, in that, I think it does, merit a little bit of addressing, because you did copy it in. You could have, and I hope you read your own post there. I think it's been clear and made that also, Kenny, that he clearly has made, he was, involved in this disaster. I think you could admit that now, at least, too, to some degree, right, Ken?
Sure. Hey, I don't think Bill's a dumb guy. I mean, he went to LSU. I assume that means he didn't get accepted in Austin. So, I mean, that's what I get from it. But at the end of the day, if I write, I'm first on the scene, right? Keith, I'm first on the scene. That's the scene. I'm not first to run downtown to the Marriott, book a hotel room, and then go in and figure up a couple of formulas on my spreadsheet on my computer. I fully admit maybe Bill was there. I'm sure he was. I'm glad you were there, Bill. I am, because that was obviously a national emergency, not just an industry emergency that affected millions of people. They have nothing to do with oil and gas. That being said, I'm first on the scene. I was the call. They put the bat signal out for Bill to get on a chopper and zip out there to the horizon and save the day. That's just not the case.
So to be very clear, I was first on the scene for the call to BP's office on the 21st of April at 11 a.m. So to say that I was not part of the initial first wave of guys that went to the office and went offshore to Fushon and to Venice is an incorrect statement. I was part of the first response team of Wild Well Control's response on April 21st of 2010.
So you're telling us, Bill, you went to a scene, just not the scene. What you're saying? You went to Houston.
And again, if the interpretation from the Houston Chronicle's write-up is implying that I was offshore, I never said that I was offshore as a first responder of the first wave of guys that went out. I was called by Kurt Mix, and I have said this since day one, at 11 a.m. on the 21st of April of 2010 to go to BP's office and start working with the team to determine the flow rate calculations, and that is a fact.
Good. How many people from the Texas Railroad Commission went out there, Bill?
0.
Okay. So you going to the office in Houston and figuring out a flow rate formula, I'm failing to piece together the gap, how that qualifies you to be a Texas Railroad Commissioner.
So before we get into the Railroad Commission discussion, I want to clearly state the fact that you called me out as a liar involved in this LinkedIn post, clearly stating that I had nothing to do with the Deepwater Horizon, and that is factually incorrect. Do you admit that?
I admit you had something to do with it. I also admit, Bill, that you told us you were first on the scene and you never went to the scene, ever.
Your interpretation of scene and what the Houston Chronicle wrote is not the same. And I apologize.
No, it ain't what the Houston Chronicle wrote, Bill. It's what you posted. You posted it.
Again, I posted directly word for word from the Houston Chronicle, and I'm happy to share the actual text with you to confirm the fact that what the first sentence says and your interpretation of it is not correct. So I clearly was involved in the Deepwater Horizon response without any questionable fact, and the fact that the Houston Chronicle's interpretation of their write-up would make it seem as if I was an emergency responder on the location of the blowout that morning, which I have clearly stated, and I have stated over and over, I was not. I was part of the emergency response team at BP's office at Westlake 4.
And, if I could just interact, like I said, that is kind of probably what has started this, but at the same time, you have to take a little bit of responsibility, Bill. You copied and you put that on there, and like I said, hopefully going forward.
I also want to state, so just real quick, I stated very clearly to Mr. Wilkerson when we talked about having this discussion, I said, anytime you want the Discovery Channel recordings, the FBI interviews, or would you like recordings of the BP and FBI hearings? I am open to fully hearing how I wasn't called day one by Kurt Mix and my involvement in the flow rate calculations, top kill, both relief wells, capping and containment designs, or static kill isn't real. I clearly said that to Mr. Wilkerson.
You did.
Never in that time did I state the fact that I was physically offshore on the rig during the emergency response. Now, have I worked on the rig? Yes. I was on the rig itself in 2005, just after Hurricane Katrina, to help relieve the guys from Mississippi. And I have worked on the Deepwater Horizon when I worked for Sperry Sun, a Halliburton company.
Excellent.
Well, I will give you this, Bill. You are working. You're well on your way to be a politician. I spoke with my campaign team back here, and they told me if you're wrong about something, just state another something that's a fact and just roll with it. Because at the end of the day, you said you were a first responder to the scene, Bill. That's what you said. That was
And I
your
was
post.
to the
That wasn't the
Houston office.
That wasn't the Houston Chronicle post. That wasn't a Houston Chronicle post. That was your post. Okay. Then you went back and edited it. You edited it to not include that. Did you not?
As I have already stated, I edited it to take out the direct entire article as a violation of the Houston Chronicle's paywall, and I removed the context of the article. I am happy to share and repost the first paragraph for your ability to reread it and confirm exactly what is said. The article itself has not been altered.
Yeah, I don't care.
I think we're beating this down.
Hold up. Who was in?
Go ahead.
Who was in charge? Was it MMS at that time? Was it still MMS? Was the regulatory over the well?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So end of the day, look, I agree that Bill did something. He calculated some formulas. He did a well control sheet or whatever. I get it. All right. Thank you, Bill. I appreciate it. As I appreciate everybody else there was working. Obviously, we all do. I do appreciate that. The fact of the matter is the statement was there. Now it's not there. Right? I believe you know that, Keith. Okay. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to move on because at the end of the day,
part of what started this, right, is that statement kind of started off some, I originally posted this saying the passion that the oil field has, right? Everybody ends up being away from their families. The oil field becomes their family, right? And when something like that gets said, I think it starts a lot of heated emotions, which I think both you gentlemen, in a different context might actually end up having a different kind of conversation. But because we ended up on the wrong side of certain things here, I think it went a little bit differently. Now, I think we've talked a little bit about how that went one way or the other. I think you have some questions, Ken, on his running for railroad commission and what some of that had to do. I think we can move on if you want to or not. If
you want to talk about the Deepwater Horizon incident itself?
No,
is that
I
something
don't.
you want to address, Ken?
No, I have no interest in talking about that. I don't know what the point of it is.
Because the fact is that the industry has not learned from the Deepwater Horizon incident and the lack of the inflow testing requirements. And we are now 13 and a half years later after the blowout and the fatality of 11 men caused by the industry, people who think they know what they're talking about and people who say that they have an understanding of what inflow testing is do not. And we still have not addressed that correctly, which was the second major reason why the rig burnt and blew out. It's a very critical subject. And after 13 and a half years, I have to tell you, can you please explain to the audience, Mr. Wilkerson, what exactly an inflow test is?
Listen to me, Bill. Listen to me. I believe your expertise. I don't doubt it. I believe you're an intelligent guy. I believe you're an intelligent guy.
I do. Insulting me going to LSU and telling me I should have gone to A&M or UT.
No, UT. I said not A&M, not A&M. Bill, I would never say that. Listen to me. I don't doubt your intelligence. I don't doubt that at all. Not the least bit. Hell, you're probably much more intelligent than I am. No doubt. I'll give you that. What I do doubt there, my friend, is your actual involvement in. Do you know who the chief designer of Tesla is, Bill?
I do not.
Neither do I. You know why? Because he's not running the show, bud. He's not running the show. Some guy named Van Halser or something like that. Who cares? Is he important? Sure he's important. He designed the car, but he didn't build the company. He's not out running the program. He's not making the decisions. Who cares? Who cares? All right. End of the day, you were involved. You ran some formulas. Fine. I'm glad. I hope whatever you come up with, prevents the future incident. I hope that is the case. But at the end of the day, it's where I come from, which is very, very close to where you come from, Bill. I believe you're from Livingston, right? Or Lufkin, one of the two.
I'm actually from Pennsylvania. I live in Livingston. All
right. Okay. Livingston. I'm from Henderson. That's called clout chasing where I'm from. That's a overinflation of self-importance. At the end of the day, fine. You were there. You weren't at the scene. You went to the office in Houston. There. That's where you sit. You had hot coffee and cold milk, and you contributed. Great. I appreciate it. That's not what you said in the post originally, but hey, I give it to you. I wasn't involved in operation at all, and I didn't post that I was. That being said,
you called me a liar over it, which is the whole reason for this discussion.
Well, because
today.
the post was false. The post was false. The reason you're here today, Bill, is because I dangled $1,000 to your campaign, and you come running like a chicken to a mealworm, bud, like every other politician. I mean, right? Am I wrong? Bill, no. I offered you $1,000. You then turned the 1,000 into 100,000 because apparently you can't read. I have no idea where you got that from. Again, but $1,000. I mean, if I offered $10,000, I could probably put you in a Speedo in my front yard selling lemonade, I would imagine.
So very clearly, I said to you, I was willing to put up the $100,000 to prove the fact that I was involved in the Deepwater emergency response before you offered the $1,000 in return. So, but go back in your timeline. Do not conflate the facts. The facts that you called you out for the fact that you called me a liar on my LinkedIn post, which was unnecessary and unprofessional. The fact of the issue is that in the running for the Texas Railroad Commission, the purpose of saying that I was one of the emergency responders is to prove the fact that I have the qualifications, the experience, and the knowledge to be a qualified Texas Railroad Commissioner. Where you look at the scenarios of what we currently have now is that none of the three commissioners have any technical background or expertise in oil and gas operations.
Because they don't need it, Bill. They don't need it, Bill. Bill, they don't need it.
That's your opinion, and I appreciate you expressing your opinion. But the fact is, the Texas Railroad Commission is one of the most technical jobs in the state of Texas. And the fact for the last 50 years, with the exception of Ryan Sitton, who unfortunately lost to Mr. Jim Wright in 2020's election, Ryan Sitton was the last engineer that sat on the Texas Railroad Commission board, and he did a very good job as an engineer, helping provide technical guidance from his knowledge and background and experience. Our current commissioners do not have the technical authority nor the operational understanding of the decisions they are making, which are critical for Texas's future and the remediation of our zombie wells and our failed plug and abandonment wells.
Are you reading the article, Bill?
No, sir. I'm telling you this straight off the top of my head. Let me be very clear with you. This problem that we have in the state of Texas, and you want to call me out on the zombie well issue with Sarah Stogner for the last 2 years, because you did nothing but harass Ms. Stogner the whole entire time she ran for the Texas Railroad Commission race in 2022, which again is a very unprofessional.
Bill, how did I harass her, Bill? Bill, give me an example of how I harassed her.
Again, I don't have the time to sit here and research.
No, again, you don't have a fact, Bill. Bill, you're just running off of the pie hole. You know what I did do with Sarah? I hired her to get $100,000 approximately of money that was owed to me from an oil company, right? And she took the job, sat on it for I don't know how many months, and then at the very end tells me she don't have time to do it because she's busy out there digging wells up, right? In the meantime, my time to file a claim to get my money evaporated. It's gone. It's over.
My apologies.
Okay, I don't know a damn thing about the Antenna Ranch. Hold up, Bill. If I was sitting in front of you, it would be a very, very different conversation. I assure you that, because you would be much more pipe down a little bit, right? Because everybody's real big brave on the internet. I didn't harass Sarah. Disagreeing with somebody about anything is not harassment, Bill. And I strongly suggest if you want to be a politician, you learn that, my friend. I will say that because nothing you say is going to please everybody. And I will say this, I've killed a lot of wells in my life, a lot of them. Not one single time. I've killed a lot of them in the state of Texas. I killed one not 7-8 miles from that Antenna Ranch. I ain't seen one single railroad commissioner show up. I've never called the Texas Railroad Commission to get some input from an engineer to kill a well, my friend. If you can't kill a well, then you shouldn't be on the job, A1. B, you better have an engineer that can at the very least help you For Christ's sake, you think a Texas Railroad commissioner is sitting in his office killing whales? I'm
So tell me,
fairly
Mr.
certain. How
Wilkerson,
many
Bill, hey,
employees?
gentlemen,
How
before
many
we get off the
employees, Bill,
rails
work at
here,
the Texas Railroad Commission? How many?
486 employees. Sir.
Okay, how many of them are engineers?
Don't know the official number, but under 200.
Under 200. So you got 165 engineers working at the Texas Railroad Commission, right? And you feel like we need one more engineer sitting up there arguing with the public at a debate, at a public hearing? I mean, what is your point, Bill? Sarah, frankly, to be honest with you, is more qualified to be a railroad commissioner than you are. That's a fact. That's a fact. Because I'm telling you, my friend, killing a whale, catching samples for Sperry's son, in no way does that qualify you to be a railroad commissioner.
How do you get that I was a sample catcher for Sperry's son when I worked for the MWD, LWD, and Directional Drilling Global Flying Squad team? We were
okay. Either way, Bill. Either way, a directional driller doesn't qualify you either, my friend.
Your ability to insult me to try to make points of it is absolutely factually incorrect, and it is not appropriate.
I apologize. I apologize, Bill. I apologize. You were a directional driller or an MWD handler, whatever it is. That still doesn't qualify you to be a railroad commissioner. Have you ever been in charge of anything, Bill? Have you ever been the boss? Well, explain that to us.
I've had employees. I've had my own well control company. Sir, you don't know anything about me or my background, where I came from, or my experience.
Where's your well control company, Bill? What's your well control company?
You haven't done any research on terms of my history or background and make assertions such as that I come from money or I come from some privileged background. I come from a very small middle-class family in Erie, Pennsylvania. I grew up with a dad who was a driller, a grandfather who was a driller. I grew up in this business. I did not come from money. I've had to earn everything I've had to get from the time I graduated university with college debt until the time I literally sit here today. Your accusations of me and my character are absolutely positively unacceptable. And I wish you would have had the balls to show up in Austin or in Dallas to actually say it to my face.
You don't want that, Bill. Bill, you don't want that. You don't want that, Bill.
Actually challenging me out in terms of my qualifications and my character are absolutely positively unacceptable, sir.
Gentlemen, and Bill, like I said, I started this off with you both kind of separately off the screen, so we weren't just ranting back and forth. I wanted to see if maybe, I know this is heated, we're going back and forth, and we are insulting, we are going in places that don't need to be gone. We're rehashing a few things here. I think we've beat some of this to death. Now, I will ask, in 3 sentences or less, Bill, what do you think the Texas Railroad Commission's mandate is? And then what do you think it should be? Because I think the mandate for cleaning up the water is not what it actually is. Isn't the mandate of the Railroad Commission to make sure that the oil and the resources of Texas is utilized as efficiently as possible?
Yes, sir. The agency's remit formally is to regulate the oil and gas industry, protect.
Well, I don't know if it ends up being a regulation, but its mandate is to make sure that oil is produced efficiently in the state of Texas. Is it not like
missions? It is to pro-ration the production capacity and permitting of drilling. It is to make sure that the technical regulations are followed in terms of design execution, operational performance, and plug and abandonment requirements. It is the agency that is responsible for the arbitration of disagreements between surface rights owners, mineral rights owners, and the operators.
Excellent. Now, from some of your statements there, from some of the learnings of the past from the Deepwater Horizon, you've brought up Sarah Stogner. A lot of focus on water. Does that mean you want to change the direction of the Railroad Commission and have it get involved in more things than it has been in the past? And if doing so, is an engineer the best to do so, or should it be a lawyer type person? Like I think at one point Kenny mentioned Sarah is qualified because of her law degree?
So, in my professional opinion, the issues that have occurred at the Texas Railroad Commission are due to a lack of technical understanding of how the industry operates and the ability to make sure that the regulations that are passed and the reasoning behind it have been transparent and done correctly. We have a history now of wells that is nothing new, that the industry has plugged poorly and has not followed even the modified regulations since 2010 of the federal requirements in the state of Texas. We have issues with the older wells that are plugged pre-2000 due to the Railroad Commission's inability to correctly force and manage and monitor the jobs that were performed that are now failing due to these change in the subsurface pressure from the over-injection of the produced water from our shale operations since 2008.
So
In
if
those
there's an
regards,
over-injection of this
yes,
water,
in those
and we
regards,
are,
the lack of sorry.
and it sounds like, you said a lack of understanding. Kenny, you said there was 165 engineers working at the Texas Railroad Commission. I'm guessing those are petroleum engineers or have some sort of technical background in the oil and gas industry.
I don't know the exact number. I do know Bill is correct. There is less than 200, or from what I've been told. I think it is
Let's
around
call it 10
150.
engineers. I think 10
No.
engineers.
There's a lot of
There's
engineers.
clearly
A
more,
lot of
but
engineers.
let's
Okay.
get your
End
10
of the
engineers in a
day,
room.
most of them I assume are petroleum engineers or mechanical engineers. Would you agree with that, Bill? I believe most. End of the day, adding another engineer to the commission that doesn't make sense. That what we need is a manager. I do agree with Bill. I don't know what's going on that Antenna Ranch. I admit that. I haven't been there. I don't know. Okay. Those wells are 50, 60 years old. I have no idea. It does need to be fixed. It 100% does need to be fixed. I have family that owns property out there myself. Okay. At the end of the day, something needs to be done. Okay. And it should be on the Railroad Commission to not fix it, but enforce it to be fixed. Right, Bill? That's
100%.
what it should be done. The
Well,
taxpayers shouldn't pay that. Okay. But at the end of the day, adding another engineer to the Railroad Commission, what does that do? You need management. You need a lawyer. You need a CEO type. You need a business owner, somebody that has managed people, managed budgets, held other people accountable to enforce rules.
And I think you hit the head. So you're saying, Bill, we have a lot of rules. They're not being enforced, correct?
That is correct.
How as an engineer then would, and I'm just trying to add to Kenny's point, one more engineer, how does that make sure that those rules are enforced? Or maybe we should be looking for a cop, an ex-DA, an ex-police chief or something here, or something, just throwing out another idea here to be addressed. Like I said, we're getting off the rails here. I'm trying to bring it back to a point where we have at least a little bit of a discussion here. I know things went crazy, but could you address that?
So I appreciate the fact that not everybody sees the opinion of having an engineer as a Texas Railroad Commissioner as a valuable added addition, and I appreciate that opinion. However, from the technical element of what this job is and the requirements of subsurface knowledge and the understanding of how the industry operates in terms of well design and practices, it is critical to have somebody at the Texas Railroad Commission who has operational background and knowledge. What the current Texas Railroad Commission lacks is that technical understanding of what's actually happening in the industry. And the analogy I would suggest is to look at how a district attorney, in order to run for office, has to be an attorney. In the Texas Railroad Commission, we have zero requirements for any operational background knowledge or academic understanding of the oil and gas industry. We currently have 3 elected officials, of which only Mr. Wright has any oil field actual experience. Mrs. Codak does not, nor does Mr. Christian. So we have scenarios of having elected officials who are regulating one of the most powerful and most important agencies in the state of Texas, who have never stepped foot on a rig floor, have never worked on a workover rig, have never seen a well in production, have never done emergency response or done any sort of intervention work, and have never been involved in plug and abandonment operations, helping regulate the industry of which we all love and have to work for. So the reality is that this is the scenario in which I see that the addition of having an engineer, in my opinion, is a valuable addition to the fact that we have somebody then at the top who can help understand and explain what is happening and why it is happening.
Once again, like I said, if we have all these engineers here, then what you're saying is the guys who are currently in power without the expertise that you're mentioning, are they then is your feeling that they're just ignoring all the recommendations of all their internal engineers when they do make some of these decisions? Is that then your feeling is what's going on?
So I can tell you from two personal examples of direct involvement with the Texas Railroad Commission in 2011 on the underground blowout in Panola County, that the Railroad Commission did not have the technical understanding nor the correct decision making in terms of how that well was resolved over the 18 months it took and $77 million it took to plug that single well in East Texas. I can also tell you from after I finished the Antina wells, the Estes 24 and the Riston 68, I went to Austin and met with Wayne Christian's chief of staff. Mr. Christian did not show up. I met with the chief engineer of the state of Texas, and I met with the general counsel for the Texas Railroad Commission. And I explained to them from my professional understanding and background and overall knowledge in the well control business that the size and extent of the problem that's occurring at Antina Cattle Company and in Crane County and Ward County is a major, major industry issue. They totally dismissed everything I said technically, said nothing has ever been brought to their attention from any of the operators in the nearby vicinity. Thanks for coming to Austin. Have some great barbecue while you're in town. That's a fact. So the fact that the Railroad Commission does not...
So if I could hold on, it sounds like it was better that you met with them than Wayne, because Wayne doesn't have the background to speak on this, but apparently they were the lead engineers, correct? So you were talking to guys theoretically that should have understood this, right? And they felt differently from you just because they hadn't heard it from somebody else.
That is correct.
And that was the only.
And then January 1st of 2022, the Crane County geyser blew out less than 2 miles south of the Antina Cattle Company out in the middle of nowhere on January 1st. And 18 months later, the well 400 yards to its east fractures to surface all on its own. The mystery ghost well of Crane County. We have a scenario in West Texas currently now and again, I'm not claiming I understand the mechanics of the underground blowout, nor where the water source is coming from or how it's moving across the field, because there's not enough data, not enough forensics science has been performed, and there's certainly not enough diagnostics on these various wells to determine the true aerial extent of the problem. But what we do know is that in this vicinity, which we have definitively seen now, 150 plus wells flowing at surface in various states of failure and flow pressures, that there is something going on in Crane County, Ward County, Reeves County, and Pecos County that should be extraordinarily alarming to the oil and gas industry. And the Texas Railroad Commission still is not addressing the cancer that is underlying all of the issues.
Ken, would you like to chime in on some of that?
I don't have experience on that well, right? Or on that property. I hate to dive into something that I literally have no more knowledge than what he's telling us now. I have no clue. I think something needs to be done with the injection. Correct, Bill? I think it needs to be eliminated. I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but it should be. I think at the end of the day, there's been somewhere around $100 billion invested in the state of Texas in the last 20 years between federal and state taxes, right? Is that correct, Bill? For wind and solar? I'm pretty sure that number's fairly correct. Okay.
Right.
All right. And what is the goofy bill they passed? The Inflation Reduction Act. I believe there's $350 billion earmarked for wind and solar. Is that correct, Bill?
I don't know the numbers
No,
explicitly.
it is
but
correct. That's
I
correct.
do know there's quite a bit allocated.
That's correct. $350 billion divvied up between, ever how many states. I don't know that 52 states and territories, I don't think is the truth. But either way, that's probably going to come out somewhere, Keith, in the realm of $100 billion, give or take, to the state of Texas invested into wind and solar power. Okay, so if you take, say, $100 billion that the state of Texas gets from the federal, then $100 billion that was over the last 20 years between state and federal tax dollars invested in wind and solar, that's $200 billion that's invested in the state of Texas into a energy source that doesn't work when it's cold. It doesn't work when it's hot, right? So why not take that money and invest that into technology to clean up this produced water? Because I'm telling you, the technology is almost out there now. I put $100,000 into a company not a year and a half ago, investor. I won't name the company, for that exact problem. Okay. And at the end of the day, you can't keep injecting water into the earth. I know that. Bill knows that. I'm pretty sure you know that, Keith. The problem needs fixed. The real problem, or I hate to bring it up, we haven't brought it up all episode, Bill. Democrats are throwing good money at bad ideas. Solar power doesn't work, right? If you want to put a solar powered fence opener out there for your gate, fine, great. Wind doesn't work. A windmill doesn't even produce enough energy to make up the difference from the energy it took to build it and install it. And that's a fact. That's a true fact. So why not take that $200 billion? I hate to give people money, but give it to a smart guy. Hey, give it to Bill. He's an engineer. Give it to Bill. Figure out the produced water problem where we can use this for, at the very least, irrigating non-edible farms or whatever, tree farm. I don't know. I do agree we can't keep injecting water in any state.
It is happening already. So recently the Produced Water Conference was in Houston. I had the pleasure of interviewing Hani Khalifa, the technical advisor for Saudi Aramco. He let me know that they've built in Oman a area where they irrigate a large section of formerly desert with 8 million barrels of produced water a day. It has turned it into a wetlands. Currently, the Railroad Commission has approved 400 acres to be irrigated for cotton use. It's been my slight hobby that all this produced water be used to turn the Permian Basin green. There's great companies out there like Codak and a few others that have treated this. I think that's the solution. Some of the way that some of the people that have gone after some of the zombie well situations in West Texas, I disagree with, because they'll go after a large particular company. I won't say who they is. You can all guess who it is. They spend up to $1 billion a year on wells and produced water and recycling water and saving water. So attacking them from some wells that they may or may not have owned outright 50 years ago is like yelling at Santa Claus because he brought one of the kids the wrong toys and stuff. I believe a lot of this has been addressed wrong, in my own personal opinions. And I don't know if the Texas Railroad Commission is the people to address the water. If their mandate and their mission is to produce oil and gas, perhaps maybe there's other people in the state of Texas, the legislature, that should go out and address produced water and our water table more correctly. I don't think that's the position of the Railroad Commission. The Railroad Commission is supposed to make it easier for the oil and gas industry to produce oil and gas and make sure what made the country great is cheap energy for people. That's what made America great. As far as the politics here, I'm trying to wrap this up, so I'll give you each a moment here to say this. But at the end of the day, I think we have a lot of passionate people in the industry that will fight over, like I said, the wrong wording, not editing a text and stuff, just because it means so much to them. And at the end of the day, that should make you feel better, not worse about the industry. because not a lot of industries have the passion that we do or the people able to solve the problems. You both clearly have different styles, and I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, if I needed a well drilled, I would call Ken. But if that well went off the rails, it seems like I need to call Bill. I don't know you very well, Bill, but it seems from the background that you got it to get some stuff under control. At the end of the day, unless we get out and have these discussions like we are, we're never going to know that. So I applaud both of you for coming. Kenny, I think you do have to pony up $1,000 check. You did make the offer for his campaign, so I think he did show up. He addressed some things, made it clear that his involvement was, I would say, I'm not lying where I'm saying more academic, right, than physically on the ground. Correct, Bill? I think that's where a lot of this went off the rails. And at the end of the day, I think, Kenny, good on you for saying something and wanting to stand up and make it clear. You have your own style. You're clearly not going to be a politician. I thank God for that. You know what I mean? But that's why a lot of people look to you. You get stuff done, and if there's something where you got a feeling you're going to say it right. Bill, I'll give you first here. I'll take Kenny off the thing here for a moment. The floor is yours. 2 minutes or less. Close up the show and let everybody know where they can get a hold of you or if they want to speak more about this.
Thank you, Keith, and I appreciate the opportunity to come on. And I thank Mr. Wilkerson for the challenge and the opportunity as well to discuss and debate this interesting words. I am fully in agreement with Mr. Wilkerson. The saltwater disposal issue and our legacy issue now are a combined phenomena that is really something that the industry did not predict and see, and it is something we have to deal with. Again, I understand the ability to see various points of views and difference of opinions and not always reach agreement, and that's perfectly fine. That's the beauty of not censorship, and that's also the beauty of conversation. However, the one thing in particular in this situation is that I believe that the Texas Railroad Commission does need somebody with technical qualifications for the complexity and the arguments of which happen at the agency. And it is something that we should have a minimum requirement for an elected official, much like a district attorney or a judge has to be an attorney by background. The Texas Railroad Commission would benefit more by having people with technical understanding and knowledge in the industry than having people who do not be elected to the office position. I understand I'm running as a Democrat, which rubs a lot of people wrong, and I totally appreciate that, and I totally understand it. I've never once said I'm an anti-fossil fuel Democrat. I have come out since day one when I talked in November 9th at AADE's Fin, Feather, and Fur Festival regarding the fact that I am a pro-oil and gas Democrat. I support the industry. I've been in this industry for 23 years. I have worked around the world. I have truly had a great lifestyle thanks to this industry, and I live a great quality of lifestyle in Texas because of the oil and gas industry. This is not about eliminating the oil and gas industry. This is about improving our environmental stewardship, making sure that we enforce the rules that currently exist. We do not need to modify the rules. We need to see what the enforcement strategies are, and we need to address our legacy issues while we build out the future of our grid and further expansion of our population, which I think everybody can agree the state of Texas will not be a smaller population by the turn of the next century. We are going to be the number one state, potentially 96 million people. We need to have more energy in the system, more resiliency of energy in the system. And you know what? We're also going to be exporting more energy because there's a lot of strategic partnerships overseas that are going to benefit from our LNG market. The politics of me running as a Democrat is the prejudice in which I am facing from people in the industry who say a Democrat can't possibly support the oil and gas industry. Well, I've said it since day one. I'm a pro oil and gas Democrat. I understand the fact that most people do not like that statement, but the reality is that's who I am, that's where I'm at, and that's why I'm running for the Texas Railroad Commission. The fact is, you can ask me more questions. I know we're running out of time, so thank you again, Keith, for the opportunity. You can reach my website at birch4trrc.com. You can reach me on, of course, LinkedIn, where this all started, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. And thank you again, sir, for the opportunity. And I look forward to visiting you when I'm out in Odessa.
And against my better judgment, I am going to have to ask you this. The head of the Democratic Party, the president of the United States, currently has come out and said several times that they are out to eliminate fossil fuels. A lot in the Democratic Party have also said those same things. As a Democrat in the oil and gas industry, how does that make you feel that the party that you want to run as wants to essentially eliminate, an industry that's been apparently really good for you?
Well, the first and foremost, and I tell most Democrats this around the clock, that the idea that anti-fossil fuel narrative is correct is summarily false. The idea that we can decarbonize our electrification, yes, we can add more decarbonization, nuclear, geothermal, and we can look at potentially better balance between natural gas and also our wind and solar sectors. Like the other day, wind and solar in the state of Texas was 80% of the base load of our grid. Now, the idea that you're going to decarbonize a lot of the transportation sector, well, that's ludicrous. My John Deere tractor is not going to run on batteries anytime soon. I don't look forward to seeing a Caterpillar excavator or bulldozer running on batteries, and I certainly don't see the scenario of the marine sector easily decarbonizing, especially for the long transmits. So the question comes down to in the petrochemical, the fourth sector of which our society depends on hydrocarbons. There is no replacement, and I tell Democrats this all the time, there is no replacement for the 23% of oil and gas use case a day that goes into the petrochemical business that makes paints, plastics, and pharmaceuticals and all the great products.
And you're preaching to the choir here. My thing is, what's their response?
So what I tell them is that the narrative is wrong. The California narrative is not correct. The East Coast narrative of Washington, D.C. and New York. Look,
but once again, when you tell other Democrats that, what is their response?
It's somewhat shocking and bewilderment because the realization is that they know that their narrative is wrong. This is not a anti-fossil fuel narrative. It doesn't work. The petrochemical sector is critical to our lifestyle. And I tell folks, anybody who wants to join and become a Mennonite or live an Amish lifestyle of no running water, no refrigeration, no HVAC, and make their own food and grow their own vegetables, by all means, go for it. I grew up in Pennsylvania near the Amish Mennonite communities. I've seen people who live without the fossil fuel input in their daily life. I see the quality of life they live. Now, I don't know anybody in my circle plus N+6 that is looking to become a Mennonite and embrace a lifestyle of the Amish. Now, if that changes in our society, great, fine, so be it. Let those people who choose that lifestyle live that lifestyle. I'm perfectly content with that. But for me and my lifestyle and the way I live and the way you live, Keith, and the way everybody lives in terms of our modern society, we enjoy the benefits of hydrocarbon in the paints and the plastics and all the use cases we have. So again, I fight that narrative within the Democratic Party. And I got to tell you, I have not received a call from Joe or Kamala telling me that my narrative and what I'm saying has to be changed from a national party perspective. I even went to the Texas Democratic Party before I ran, before I made my decision to run for office. And I clearly said to them at the Austin office, I am a pro oil and gas Democrat. Are you okay with me running as a Democrat on this platform? And they said, yes. We understand in Texas that oil and gas conversation is critical, and we have not handled that conversation correctly. So again, I tell folks,
very much.
That is the position that we have to hold, and we have to correct these narratives when they come up and challenge. Thank you, Keith.
No problem. Appreciate you coming on. This was a different kind of situation for me. Appreciate it. Kenny?
Hey.
Close us out. Thank you for kind of setting this up and bringing this on. I think, the way that started out and the way I initially read some of that, the initial post that kind of put this into motion, I think you were right for saying maybe how intense saying he had nothing to do was maybe a little far, but I think, after some of the comments that came in there that, we definitely got it cleared up. He wasn't out there. He was in the offices. And what are your thoughts? Close us out.
Yeah. At the end of the day, look, I appreciate Bill for coming on here, and I will give him the check. The check was just to show up. All he had to do was show up, and I appreciate you doing this. Words matter, Keith. You can't say one thing and mean something else if you're running for politics, as we all know what that means. You put a little comment out there that says, hey, bye, and then 70% of the population in the state of Texas has no idea what happened. They don't know. All they know is this guy suited up, hopped on a chopper, and went out there to save the day. All right. I do concede that Bill did something. I don't know all what he did. Figured out a flow rate. All right. And that's
There was a
great.
little bit more to it than that, but he
Yeah.
definitely was more an academic based.
Yeah, there you go. That being said, the bottom line is, I wish him the luck, but putting a Democrat regulating the oil and gas industry is like putting a fox, watching security over your hen house. That doesn't even make sense. They have said time and time again, literally to the top, not figuratively, literally to the top, that they want to eliminate the entire industry, which I know, and everybody else knows that's not possible. That doesn't even make sense. But we're dumping millions and billions of dollars to a fake narrative to pander to the people on the left that don't seem to realize it's not possible. That being said, I appreciate both of you guys coming on today. I appreciate these people shooting questions. My phone's blowing up. I got 80 something messages on my phone. I'm not running for anything, so I don't need you to contact me.
I'm glad you're not, because the words, a lot of the comments, if there was Kenny comments, is because one, somebody didn't like that you didn't wear a collared shirt, Ken. So next time I'm gonna send you a collared shirt. And
I did almost put a little flag there right on my shirt for this debate, but yeah, I'm not gonna suit up. You know me well enough, Keith. I don't like to suit up. Only time I put a suit on is if I'm chasing money, right? But yeah, I do appreciate everybody. I don't really have anything else. I did enjoy it, actually. I had a good time. I thank you for putting it together.
I think opposing views. We need to do this more often. Some people were upset that, they're like, why would you give Bill Burch a platform? And I'm like, why not? If we don't give the people we potentially disagree with or agree with even a chance to speak, I think Bill said it was, freedom of speech. That's still a great thing about America. I came to America and got my citizenship because I believe in all those things. Now, at the same time, I see some of, the other party won't get into kind of pushing some of that down. So that's where I lose some of my, and I asked because Bill was saying a lot of the right things, hey, I'm a pro oil and gas guy, but a lot of the other side isn't. And that's why I really I know what he said, because a lot of us on this side would say probably the same things to them, that you can't get rid of oil and gas. I'm just, what would their reaction be coming from another Democrat? So that's probably another conversation for another day. And I know we were yelling and everything, but once again, Kenny, appreciate it. Glad you came out of podcast retirement to do this. And we'll close it out there, everybody. Get Bill a chance to wave goodbye. And until next time, that's how you troubleshoot, everybody. Ending.